Good afternoon, everyone, Rotarians and guests. We were here at the August 24th meeting of the Rotary Club of Gainesville. I want to welcome everyone. So guests and visiting Rotarians, if you're joining us virtually on Zoom, please. Okay. I think your program just started. Maybe. Thank you.
Oh, no, that's not.
The volume. Just turn the volume down.
I won't stop.
Sorry about that. So that was really planned. That was a sneak preview. We have a great program. Thank you, Denny, for all your help. Okay, without further ado, Pete Enwall.
Tom Collette was going to be our mystery guest jokester today, and he didn't show up. So you stuck with me. And I'm recently retired, trying to get used to it, trying to find something to do. And so I got a job with a company that digs holes under roads for cable and stuff like that. But, I just couldn't handle it. I had to quit because the job was just so boring. Today is National Waffle Day, and so I asked Melanie what she thought about my joke, and she waffled. Would you join me in singing God Bless America? God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Join me in pledging allegiance to our flag.
Thank you very much, Pete. And Kevin Thorpe, would you please share the invocation with us at this time?
May we pray. Lord, we are grateful for this day. It is a new day and another day. Thank you for this privilege, this opportunity that we have to express your glory in new ways. We thank you in advance for today's presentation. We pray a special covering over our nation's children, over our nation's parents. Help us as a country to do a much better job in protecting them. It is for your sake and for your glory we pray. Amen.
Thank you very much, Kevin. You may be seated. At this time, we would like to introduce Rotarians who are visiting or any Rotarians with guests. And Don will be coming around with the microphone. Don, okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, Rotarians. Wilbur Holloway. As my guest today, I have Alan Spear. He's a longtime Gainesville resident. He's been abroad all over the country building things. He was played at GHS and at Vanderbilt. So anyway, give him a nice warm Rotary welcome, please.
Welcome, Alan. And Don, I have a guest right here. Fellow Rotarians, my guest is Laura Valancourt. Laura is the Executive Director of Girls on the Run. All right. Yeah, we got We would love it, please.
Yeah, my name is Denny Winkelman, and I live in Jacksonville, Florida, but I'm a member of the Rotary for the Rotary Club to End Human Trafficking up in Minnesota. So anyway, it's an honor to be here.
Welcome. We're glad to have you with us. Anyone else? Okay. We do have a member craft talk today. So Mary Kate, do you want to come up and introduce, do you have your person here today? Okay. Oh goodness. Okay. I know. Well, maybe your comments will take just a few minutes. So.
I tell you, that's a nice entrance you're making there, Sarah. I met Sarah a few years ago. We were judges at the Miss Baker Beauty Contest, and we became friends over margaritas and burritos. So, and I'm so glad that she joined our club. Come on up.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for having me in your club. I didn't have anything prepared today. I had a last minute message that I may not be able to make it today. I had a work emergency, but here I am. A little about myself. I grew up in retail grocery. My father had grocery stores, and that's where I spent my early career. I say early career at the ripe old age of 8, and I'm convinced that some child labor laws were written because of him. I started paying into Social Security very early. So when my father retired, he had some grocery stores that he sold to my brother and sister, and I decided to take another avenue. For a while, I wanted to go into engineering and took a lot of math, and then took an extended break and decided when I finished my undergrad, what do I do with all this math? And I'm like, I must need to be an accountant. I don't think it was just, my break was too extended to go into engineering. And then somehow, fast forward, I tried my hand at teaching, decided it was not for me. Kudos to all teachers out there that teach high school children. They have my utmost respect. So then I just kind of stumbled upon municipal government. Started at the finance director at City of Lake Butler, and then obtained the title as deputy city manager. And I love to be a generalist. I like accounting. Okay, it's all right. But I really love putting projects together and visioning and just, development and economic development. Those are some of my passions in municipal government. Let's see, what else can I say? I now work for the town of Micanopy as their town administrator. I've spent about 9 years at the City of Lake Butler, and decided my boss, my city manager, kicked me out of the nest. He said, "Baby bird, it's time for you to fly." And he said, "Look at this little town. It looks great. It might be a good fit for you. I think it'll be fun." So that's what I did. I applied, and it felt right. And so that's what brought me to your club. So Harvey Baxter was a friend of my father's. My father passed away in late 2019. He was a lifelong Rotarian, as was my grandfather. My grandfather was one of the founding members of the Lake Butler Rotary Club. So my father passed away late last year from COVID, and it was just absolutely devastating to our family. But I decided to continue to be a Rotarian and transfer my membership. Especially Harvey nudged me along and kind of took me under his wing and said, since you're going to be in Alachua County, there's this great club that I would like to introduce you to. And he said Lisa and Mary Kate were there, and as you know, that we were judges in the Baker County beauty pageant, we had a lot of fun. said, okay, let me give it a try. And so I came here, and everyone was so welcoming, and I thank you, and just, yeah, everyone was great. And here I am. Was that 3 minutes? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. I'm sure you'll agree that she is a wonderful new addition to our club. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to turn the program over to President David.
Good afternoon, everyone. Denny, I'm going to try to set this so that I don't start your program again here. Let me see what I can do here. Tell you what, with all the technical stuff we have overcome and have been able to manage here, you would think something simple like this would be. All right, I'm just going to hold this. So I've just got a couple of kind of points of business, couple of announcements I'd like to just mention to you guys before our wonderful program begins. And the first is it's something that we're all familiar with. We all pay attention to the news, and we know what's going on in Haiti, the disaster relief efforts that are going on there. And this is something I'll tell you honestly, I've seen several emails over the past week, kind of Rotary related, and I was communicating with our district governor, Rich Cooper, about it'd be nice if there was a way that we could just send a link out to membership, where if someone is so inclined, they could just click and either use PayPal or enter a credit card. So that's been done. And the cool thing about this is that it's actually been done. If you're so inclined, your donation could go through the York Foundation, which, as you all know, was started here in Gainesville by our own E.T. York, and it since has it's administered and kind of overseen by the district in Jacksonville, but it's a 501c3, so your donation is tax deductible. That's a link that actually went out from District Governor Cooper, I think probably Sunday, maybe he got that out there, or maybe yesterday, but I'm going to resend it now that I've made this announcement today. I'm going to send that back out to you all, so it'll be an email coming from me. And if you're so inclined, just take a look at that link. The Haiti, we've got, I think, 2,200 is the death toll that I saw most recently, hundreds missing and thousands injured. It's a country with little infrastructure, and with an earthquake and then a tropical storm right after that, they're having trouble down there. The next thing, this is a little bit more of on a positive note. TJ Pache, is TJ here? I don't think I saw him. He might be on Zoom, I'm not sure, but I'm going to begin just by crediting TJ for his name wasn't in the Gainesville Sun as authoring this little column, more than a column. It was a nice little article there in Sunday's paper in that back section, page 4F. And let's see, it was Rotary works on local groups and projects. You guys take a look at that. It's neat. It goes into a little bit about Rotary International and how Rotary International was founded. Mentions Paul Harris, and then it talks a little bit about our own club's history, being around for 100 years. And then most importantly, and this is where TJ, gave some good verbiage in there. It talks about the works that we've been doing the last few months, the do-goodery funds, and what we've been doing with the STEM kits with the Alachua County Library, and all the work we've been doing at Bread of the Mighty. So take a look at that article if you can Google it online or something. But it's pretty neat. We don't get a whole lot of press, the Rotary Club, but nice that TJ has some. I guess he has some connections there that he's getting us some exposure. So that's it. It's great to see everybody. I always love starting this meeting, and I love it when we have a wonderful program, which we have each week. And we've got another one today. I'm going to ask Eric Godet to come up and introduce today's program.
David. Well, we're really excited to have today's speaker. I know I am. Denny has stood up for you. He's a Rotarian. He lives in Jacksonville. His name is Denny Winkelman, Director of Florida and the Southeast region for PACT, P-A-C-T, that is Partners Against Child Trafficking. Now, child sex trafficking is the fastest growing crime in the world. The United States has over 300,000 children that have become victims to a horrific act of violence. PACT is the leading authority and advocacy organization that trains our youth and adults how to detect, defend against, and disrupt the demand in child trafficking. PACT is recognized as a continuing education provider by different health and human services and research-based content programs. There's a lot I can tell you, but I'm going to get out of the way. I'm just going to share one more fun fact. So yes, Denny Winkelman is here, but the true star of the family is Jill Winkelman, who works for UF, Department of Neurology, helping. She's a big fundraiser, getting all those research dollars so that we continue to make those advances in neurology and neurosurgery here in our community. So, and Denny has shared with you, he's also a partner with the Minnesota Rotary on working with ending human trafficking. So at this time, would you please give a great big welcome, Rotary welcome for a fellow Rotarian out of Jacksonville, Denny Winkelman. Come and give us some more information.
Thanks, Eric, for the introduction, and President David, thank you for the opportunity to be here, fellow Rotarians. I'm going to talk about today a issue that Eric just mentioned. The fastest growing crime in the U.S. is child sex trafficking. And I have a slideshow that I'll be showing in a couple of videos. It's interesting that it's not talked about. The United States, America, the government has kind of downplayed the crime by saying the human trafficking along with child sex trafficking is they're labeling it under slavery. So that's okay, but it doesn't really say what's really happening. So I'm going to start this little presentation here, and at the end, I'll take questions. Our motto is not one more victim. Let's see, I'll turn this on. Okay. So this next, it'll be a little short video. It is a public service announcement, one of many that we have done, and they have been shown and heard all over the United States through one of our partners, Intercom. And this is just a short little video that talks about the issue.
It's happening right now. Don't change the channel. Don't cover your kids' ears, no matter how much you want to ignore it. Child trafficking is real. In fact, it's happening in your town. And you know what our greatest weapon against child trafficking is? It's our children. It's time to act with PACT. That's Partners Against Child Trafficking. PACT works to teach students how to identify the warning signs of child trafficking so they can help other vulnerable kids around them. PACT student ambassadors receive in-depth training on the issue and design a project to raise awareness, reduce victimization, and disrupt demand. Visit pact.city to start donating today. That's pact.city. And for as little as $5 a month, you can help end child exploitation.
So it's, pretty informative, and it kind of gets to the point. What is human trafficking? I mentioned before that the government has kind of downplayed it and putting it under human slavery, but the official Definition is the unlawful act of transporting, coercing people in order to benefit their work or service, typically in the form of forced labor or sexual exploitation. Here's some facts about global human trafficking. 40.3 million are estimated to be victims of trafficking, and children are a big part of that. Even here in the US, as Eric mentioned before, there's at least 300,000 plus children that have been trafficked. Every child is vulnerable and it can happen anywhere. So rarely does it happen like if a child gets kidnapped or a human gets kidnapped. It's mostly with somebody you know, family members, online, social media, that kind of thing. The best way is to educate, to train, and recognize and respond appropriately. And it happens, as I mentioned before, in our homes, which is quite shocking. The PACT Continuum Care model. So there's two sides of the human trafficking. One is the victim services, which is great. It helps the people that are in need, that have been victims, to get them restarted with their lives. A lot of money is spent toward that, and not so much toward prevention. Our model at PACT is prevention. We feel that we have to stop the demand as fast as we can. So through awareness, informing people of the facts, case studies, it starts in your churches, your family, and at work. Education, student-led, student-fed, empowering peer-to-peer, social media, renewable resources, and of course, training with certified counselors. So our mission at PACT, our mission statement is pretty forward, self-explanatory. Our mission is to empower students through peer-to-peer communication, and I will get to that, what we offer at PACT that represents that peer-to-peer communication, to defend or detect, defend, and disrupt against predators in their own environment and bring awareness to adults to stop the demand. So that's our mission. So most vulnerable, the research has shown that most vulnerable children were the ones that are homeless, especially those who identify as LGBTQ, foster care placements, those with disabilities, and abused and neglected. However, we have a spokesperson for PACT in Austin, Texas, that was a victim, and she was trafficked by her mother just for, to keep her drug habit going. And she was like 12 or 13 years old. So it can happen in the homes. It happens with family members. And the gender, this is what our research has come up with, found out that child trafficking isn't just gender specific. Yes, most trafficked children are females, 80%, but of that 20% are boys. And the majority of boys that are trafficked are in the middle school ages. And 71% of the males for sexual exploitation are under 21. And it's interesting that the girls will talk about their experiences of being trafficked, where boys won't. It's just something they don't talk about. And it, certainly I think that affects males a lot more because of that. When a girl can talk about her experience and how she got in and how it's been detrimental to her life, that she can open up to therapists and stuff, where males have a really hard time. So PACT, our main thing is to empower students, and we empower students in many ways. We have programs for instance, self-defense programs. In Austin, Texas, we've trained 200 or more students in self-defense, focus young men and women on the skills of safety to remove themselves from vulnerable situations. It kind of empowers them to recognize some signs and move away. Our other, what we also offer are classes, which I'll show in a minute. We have SACT classes, which are Students Against Child Trafficking. We have them at the high school level, which is actually middle school, high school, so 13 to 18 years old. It's an online course. Also, we have a college course that is for college students, and all these have been peer-to-peer produced, written, and so forth by the students. That's what I just kind of talked about. So here is going to be a short 2-minute video of Callum, who was a PAC ambassador in Austin, Texas. He's now a college student and an ambassador at the University of Texas. So let's see what Callum has to say.
Hi, my name is Callum and I live in Austin, Texas. Today, I need to talk to you about something that is impacting all of us and is the fastest growing crime in the US, child sex trafficking. That was a video taken around 5 years ago when I was in high school, where about 18 of us came together to form a PACT student ambassador program on our campus. Our purpose was simple: to help protect fellow students in the fight against child trafficking. This topic was so relevant back then, yet at our school, the administration wouldn't let us meet on campus to discuss it. That has since changed because of what we accomplished by empowering students to stand up and be counted. This issue needs our attention and isn't something we can afford to ignore. There are 40.3 million victims of human trafficking worldwide. 40.3 million. Let that sink in. The majority of trafficking victims are actually children at an average age of 13. In Africa, more than half of all trafficking victims are children. In the Americas, over 2/3 of victims being trafficked experience sexual exploitation, and almost 1/3 are children. Sex trafficking isn't a female-only danger either, with 20% of sex trafficking victims actually being male. That's 1 in 5, which is a lot larger than the media would like us to believe. Today, at the University of Texas, it is just as important as it was back then. Awareness against this not to be talked about injustice is growing more and more every year, and now you too will be able to take a part in that fight. In fact, in 2020, over 20 high school students used the research and forensic studies of PACT and created this online course for students by students. Based on this student-created course, we will learn about the realities of human trafficking and how it isn't the far-off danger that we have been led to believe. We'll talk about what child sex trafficking is, the warning signs used by predators, how it affects your community, and what you can really do to prevent it. I'm excited to still be part of this journey with PACT and their mission and purpose, as they have truly come up with a student solution to having not one more victim. So let's get started. Are you ready to begin?
So this is where Rotary comes in. Rotary has partnered with PACT. There's a Rotary Club where I'm a member of up in Minnesota that was mentioned earlier. Rotary Club to End Human Trafficking. It was started about 1.5 years ago, and it's gaining a lot of momentum. More and more clubs, and actually the club is growing because of the issue of human trafficking. So it's something that Rotary is looking and doing in the future, looking at partnering with people. PACT just happens to be the educational arm for Rotary now. So what we do is we go into schools that are in the communities of Rotary clubs, high schools, universities, and with the assistance and help with the local Rotary club at a high school or middle school or college of your choice, we partner in getting our courses into the schools. Where we are, as I mentioned, we have 35 members. The Human Trafficking Club is in 10 states and in 6 countries right now. So yeah, everything's virtual because our meetings and stuff, because they're, from people all over the country and all over the world. Why Rotary and PACT? Okay, Rotary is the largest global service organization in the world. And most people know there's 34,000 clubs, 196 countries, and 1.2 million members. PACT has the high school and college courses that are peer-to-peer based. There's only 1 hour, it's online, it's scalable. If, let's say, if this Rotary Club were to take on as a project of one of your local high schools, you pick a class or how many, the students would sign up and they have to go online and register. They register, they take the course, and after the course is finished, completed, they get their certification, along with some community service hours for graduation. We report all that back to our sponsors that happen to be a Rotary or a corporate sponsor or a private sponsor. They will know who took the course, who completed the course, and who moved on to the next step, which is an ambassadorship at your local school. So let's look at real quickly inside of the SACT course. So what is it? It's a 1 hour trafficking prevention course that gives students the skills to spot warning signs, take action, and keep themselves safe. As I said, it starts at 13 years old. Parents, we have found out in our research that parents, adults in general, don't like to talk about this subject, and especially with their children. And the children also don't receive input if parents or adults do talk to them. They prefer to talk to themselves, and they do. They talk to them about what's going on with their lives. And this is why we came up with a program that is all written from our facts and our research by students, filmed by students, produced by students. So it's actually very wonderful. Here's kind of a snippet of what the course looks like. Some of the topics it covers are warning signs, boundaries. Now, boundaries in young adults are really something, and they don't know how to say no, or you're bothering me. This gives them the empowerment to be able to do that, this course. Talks about self-esteem, and what to look for if somebody that has low self-esteem, that probably could be a person that would be an easy victim for trafficking. Online grooming, risk factors, and many more. And also it goes into, like in the high school course, it goes into what are healthy relationships. Now, if you have high school kids, you want them to know, you want them to pick somebody and be involved with somebody that's healthy, have the relationship be healthy. In the college course, it talks about sexual exploitation and harassment and all the things that go on in college and universities, all the sex, basically assaults and things that go on, some are reported, but I would say most of them aren't. But it goes into how to prevent all that. This is some responses of people that have taken some courses, and when you register at the end of the course, we ask, what did the course, what did you get out of it? Was it something that was helpful to you, so forth. And most of the responses are quite positive. So some of the schools that, here's just a sample of some of the schools that our courses are in right now, or people or students that have taken our courses. Right now I'm Jacksonville, where I'm from. We're looking at getting in the course into Fletcher High School. We also have 15 students signed up to become ambassadors, which they will be ambassadors in their school for PACT, to spread the word, spread the training, talk to people, and get more people involved in this subject. Fairfield University is very interesting because there's another connection with Rotary. So Fairfield is a Jesuit university in Fairfield, Connecticut. And they called us PACT, and we're interested in our college course. And as of now, it is for the incoming freshmen, it is a required course. And the Fairfield Rotary Club is actually help sponsoring the cost of it, which is actually $5 a student for the course is $5, but we don't let the students pay. So we always have sponsors. What's interesting is that they had a very inactive Interact club in Fairfield. And with this course, all of a sudden interest in the Interact is also being generated for the club, and they're really excited about that. So the university and the Rotary Club there for many years weren't really talking to each other, but our program brought them all together to talk. And so that's another positive thing for Rotary. Let's see. This is something, I'm just grateful to be here to talk about this subject. But my next slide is kind of important, what Rotary can do with the subject. The SAC program courses, the two courses that we offer, the high school and the college course, is a gateway to your Interact and Rotaract clubs. If you wanted to sponsor a high school or a class or something, or whatever classes your Interact kids are in, this is a great opportunity to get them involved in something like this. It gives them a project. It gives your club a project to do, to educate students. I know that Rotary every year gives scholarships out, and they're usually to single people. But with some of that money, if you were to say, okay, we're going to do a whole class of two, or let's say for $1,000, you can educate and train 200 students in your local community of how to defend themselves against, detect and defend against child trafficking. So it's a great community service, and Rotary is looking at doing more and more in this field. So that's pretty much my presentation, but I can take questions now if there are any questions, and I'll see if I can answer them. Yes.
Hi, Brendan Shorley. Thank you, by the way. You mentioned the 40.3 million, and I apologize if you mentioned this earlier in your presentation, but if you could give us a 2-point demographic spread on Eastern versus Western cultures and the prevalence in either. I'm sure there's a difference. And also in our country, Westernized, we'll call it, what's the demographic spread, Southeast versus Northeast, et cetera? Thank you.
Okay, so the 43 million is human trafficking, and that encompasses everything, from slavery, labor trafficking, and of course a big part of that is sex trafficking. It's all over the world. The United States, I would say the Eastern countries, I know from our club that Eastern, like in Thailand and those, it's really, really prevalent in the East. The US ranks probably second or third in trafficking. So with 300,000 children being trafficked in the US, but the whole human trafficking, it's probably about 4 million people that have been trafficked. As far as the United States, any place that there's a interstate, it's not, people think sometimes, all the border towns are the ones that are all, have a lot of the trafficking problems, but it's not, it's the interstates. You got the 75, 95, I-10, any of those states. If I-10 goes through, 12 states, those 12 states rank really high in trafficking. Florida is about third, Texas is second. Houston is the highest rate city of human trafficking. And so did I answer your question? Mm-hmm.
Hi,
Yeah.
Richard Allen here. I just wanted to say thanks for, this is an incredibly important topic, and I know everybody in the club knows that. I also just wanted to say it's, what the model that you're using is incredibly effective, and I know that because in a really small country, Cambodia, about 7 years ago, our club participated with a group of New York clubs in an, on-site across Cambodia Rotary Global Grant, which was focused on child trafficking. And we did exactly the same model where in every one of the high schools, we went in and created, helped the students to create a youth club. And the youth club was focused on two things: community service, number one, and number two, on child trafficking. and educating everybody else in the school about child trafficking, which was a huge problem in Cambodia. I mean, you can just imagine both sexual and business and international, where they would be exported out to other countries under all sorts of false premises from their families. You know, the recruiters would come through the villages and convince them that they could, you know, they'd have these great luxurious jobs in some other country, and the families would support them going there. And of course, they're just going into child trafficking.
That's one of the grooming signs. Yes.
Yeah, it's horrible. And so the rates of child trafficking in Cambodia now have dropped precipitously, because the government of Cambodia wound up taking that same program and putting it into every high school in Cambodia. So every high school now has a youth club that's focused on child trafficking and education, and it's all student empowerment based, just like your model, and it really, really, really works. And I just wanted to enthusiastically endorse what you're doing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Jacob Tim here. I'm just going to piggyback from what Richard has said. Start with locally here, especially in North Central Florida. And if you can give us, if you know, some statistic around North Central Florida and especially Gainesville, it's a concern. That's one. I think your model will work. This week, there was a case in one of the high school that I think the leader or the principal assistant principal got into trouble. And it was about the sign. There was a parent complaint that they were suspecting somebody is talking to their child about trafficking, and they reported, and somehow that was mishandled by the teacher. And so it's piggyback on that case, which seemed your model would detect that if everybody act right, everybody do the right thing, they detect the thing like the parents and went to school, and unfortunately it cracked and there was a crack there. Somebody dropped the ball. So how do you handle that with your model? And finally, about international trafficking, you alluded to, one of the issue is not just only sex trafficking, but human organ trafficking, which it's a big thing that, again, you're being told you have a nice job, and the next thing you know, it's a big thing coming up, especially in Africa with organ trafficking. How do you address that? Thank you, and thank you for the presentation.
Yeah, thank you. I think I can answer some of them. I don't know much about the human organ trafficking. Is that what you're talking about? That is kind of out of what we do. But my guess is that because of the freeway systems and this and that any kind of trafficking can happen. As far as the schools and our model, yes, I mean our courses are, the high school and the college course is, designed to empower students. So if students are talking about it, which they do anyway, this course will actually empower them and make them feel comfortable about being able to go to an adult and talk to them. They'll have those tools. They can go to adult. Now, if the adults somehow drop the ball, I don't understand. But I think that with ambassadors that we have in some schools, that they're a little more assertive, and they would make sure that something like that would not happen. Like at the University of Texas with all the sexual assaults, some are reported, some aren't. I know that our ambassadors really help the victims of sexual assault on the university campuses to move forward and actually, make complaints or file complaints. So it's all about empowerment. If you, the more you know and how to defend and detect and disrupt, the better that you feel, and you make choices. You want to stop child trafficking or any kind of human trafficking, then you say something, and we empower the people to do that.
Good afternoon. I'm Deborah Newell, and my question is related to something that Richard commented on, and you indicated that Houston, Texas is the largest trafficking port, if you will, in the United States. My question is, are the children and the youth that are trafficked in Houston, are they taken to other countries or are they trafficked to other places in the United States?
It's a combination of both. There's not a lot of leave the country. That's a little hard to do. But they do travel state to state along the 10. So if you're somehow been groomed, remember when I got back, it says, children getting kidnapped. That's not really happening. I mean, it happens, but it's not a big part of it. It's the grooming. I'm going to use the word pimps, but they groom their victim. They make them feel, worthy. They give them things, and then all of a sudden they're on drugs and they're trafficked. And yes, they go all over the states. Big events like Super Bowl, wherever that may be, trafficked kids are trafficked there. They're transported there for sex. So, yeah. It's just easier along the border, not the borders, but along the interstates. So it mostly stays at home. Any other questions? Oh, is there a question in the chat?
The question was, what typically happens to the children who are victimized by this sort of trafficking as they become adults?
Children who have been trafficked really need some help, and that's why the victim services are great. The therapists and doctors and so forth can help these kids. The social services, not so much, because they sometimes just put the kids right back into a vulnerable situation. That's why our model is prevention, because we feel that the only way to stop it is to prevent it, and empower kids, children, to know the signs. So that's all I can say. I mean,
Okay, one other question from online. Is there a program to address child trafficking for the kids who are younger than high school age?
Yes, we pretty much our course, we call it our high school course. It's ages 13 to 18. So 13 is middle school. So it's really middle school, high school. But we take the high school course and then the collegiate courses for above that. So, yeah. And yeah. Thank you. I just want to mention one other thing. Rotary is a real key here. It's an opportunity for Rotary clubs around the country to partner with people like PACT and other people to stop the demand. So thank you for the opportunity.
Hey, Denny, if you would hang out for a second up here with me, just real quick. And I want to thank you for, it kind of feels like the theme that I take away from this is increased awareness, kind of being vigilant about this. That's where really the opportunity is for the masses as we are, who maybe some of us, exception of Richard and others, don't have a whole lot of knowledge about this. I know when I started communicating with your organization a few weeks ago, just a little bit of research I did, I was literally floored to know how prevalent this is. So thank you for that service to us, giving us that awareness. And this is obviously something that you are dedicated to, so we appreciate that dedication. And Denny, as you know, as a Rotarian, something that we're all proud of is our tradition of service above self. And another key aspect of Rotary that makes me proud to be a Rotarian is the fact that it's not just folks dedicated to service, but also we're businessmen and women who are kind of dedicated to a higher ethical standard. And that ethical standard is, well, it's kind of an abridged version of that can be seen in our four-way test. And that four-way test, as you know, it's something we run by all things we think, say, or do. We ask, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? It is, Denny. I've got a coin here for you to remember your time with us today. And again, we appreciate you being here, traveling from Jacksonville, and I'm glad to be in touch with your organization. Thank you, sir. Yep. Everybody, next week we have another good program. District Governor Rich Cooper, Coop as he likes to be called, will be here with us, and I think you're all going to find him as a very just kind of easy guy to talk to. I mean, I've met him just a little bit in person a couple of years ago, but all of my communication with Rich has been online or virtual via Zoom or some kind of a Cisco program, but just a fantastic guy. I think we're going to really enjoy Rich being here next week. Here is the winning ticket number. 833. 833. Who's got 833? All right. Lisa. All right. Awesome. I can't see you with the mask back there. Okay, guys, we're adjourned. I'll see you next Tuesday.